Welcome Bitcoin friends, it's Bitcoin Memo. We're going to get straight into it today. In the last video we were looking at this market cipher indicator from CryptoFace, and this is on the 6-hour chart. We had just gotten this green dot down here on the 6-hour chart, and we did have another green dot here. So we were saying we need to look at a higher time frame, possibly the 12-hour, to look for a green dot there. And at the time we didn't have a green dot on the 12-hour yet. Looking on the 12-hour, we can see we did get this green dot here on this candle, and we did dip down after that, but now we have shot up again. And I also said we'll be looking for the green dot on the daily chart. So just looking on the daily, we can see we did get this green dot. It was maybe 8 hours ago, and we did get it on this candle. And with the new daily just opening a few hours ago, we can see that this green dot is confirmed. So I do think the bottom is in. I did get a small trade, but it was a very small trade in at around 48,000. And I am looking to do a bigger trade. I am expecting us to come down and make a higher low and perhaps a W shape, and I'll be looking to get into a trade there, but I will go into that in more details. And I just want to pull up the 4-hour chart here. And just looking at this money flow here, we can see this green wave and this red wave coming down. And this indicator is good for measuring momentum. So if we do look here, I do have this white line drawn where you can see the momentum coming down, money flowing out of the market, and now it is starting to curve back up again. So once we get back into the green, I think we will start taking off quite a lot. And I'm just looking at these blue waves now. So I am looking for a red dot here on the 4-hour on the top of this wave, indicating we might have another pullback and dip down briefly with the blue wave below the 0 line. And when we do get that next green dot, I'll be looking to go along there. We can see on this red dot here, when we do go up, it does lead to a slight pullback. So we'll be looking at levels at which to get into a trade if you're not currently in a trade. And just quickly looking at the 2-hour chart, we see a similar thing with the green wave and the red wave, and it's about to cross to the upside. But we do have the red dot on the 2-hour. So I think that is initiating the pullback that we might see, and also to create the higher low to get into the trade. So just looking on Bybit here, you can see we were in this falling wedge pattern, and I was expecting us to come down here for one more test of the lower regions, and I did have these trades set up here to buy lower, and this would have been around the area of the 21-week exponential moving average, which everyone was looking at, but we didn't quite come down there. We have broken this wedge now, we have gone higher, so I am looking to get in on the pullback, perhaps in this golden pocket area. And we can see here we did have this bullish divergence on the 4-hour with higher lows on the RSI and lower lows on the price action. And I was possibly looking for a triple bullish divergence here with this one more pullback, but we didn't get that. We got the bounce. And just looking at the stochastic RSI, we can see we are quite high here on the 4-hour. So this pullback might happen soon. If we just look at the other time frames, we can see the 2-hour on the stochastic is starting to come back down. The 1-hour has already come down, and the RSI did get into this oversold area above the 70 reading, and we can see quite often when we get above this area it can initiate a pullback. And just looking at the higher time frames on the 6-hour, we can see the stochastic is quite high also. And even on the 12-hour, we have gone all the way up here to the 100 reading on the stochastic. So I do think a pullback might be happening soon. And just looking at the EMA ribbon here on the 4-hour chart, we can see we had that resistance all the way down. And with this pump up, we have gone above the ribbon. But I would like to see this yellow line cross the red line for us to confirm that this run will continue up, and then use this yellow line as support when it is above the red line. As you can see on previous occasions, after it did cross, we did use it as support on the way up. Things can get quite choppy here, when we do recover from a low with this ribbon. We can see here we did go above and below several times before we did actually start taking off and using it as support. And just showing on this previous occasion here using the fib retracement tool, we can see we did pull back to the golden pocket area here. So I wouldn't jump into a trade straight away upon breaking this ribbon. I would look for that pullback to the golden pocket and then get into the trade. So looking at it currently, we can see the golden pocket here is around 49.5 to 49.7, but we could go a bit more higher before we do get that pullback. And just looking on the daily EMA ribbon here, we can see that the yellow line is at about 55,200. So we could come up to this yellow line, and I think we might get a rejection there. And just moving the fib to that level, we can see that the golden pocket then would be around $50,000 level, and this would also line up with this 0.5 level on the overall retracement. And Bitcoin does like to do this quite often. After a drop, we come up to the 0.5 level and then we get another pullback. And just to show you that on a different chart, it's interesting to note at that 0.5 level we have a lot of volume traded there. So this could be a level that acts as resistance, and I've got the same fibs drawn here, and this is what I think might happen. We will come up here to this 0.5 level and then retrace to this golden pocket area, and this is where I'd be looking to get into a trade. I would start layering orders at this 0.5 level, so at 51,500 approximately, because we do have this 0.786 level here also. So I would place another order here at 50,860 and then go in with more contracts than above here at the golden pocket area at 50,400 and 50,120. And I would probably have a stop loss further down here at the just below the 0.786 around 48,680. And that would be slightly below this area here where we have the volume profile support. And on the daily, I do want to point out a trend line that I found that I didn't notice in the last video. Just connecting the tops here, this acted as resistance several times. We broke above it and we had this run, and then it did act as support here. We did go slightly lower, and then this is the level that we did pull down to also here. And just looking at this triangle we were watching on the RSI in previous videos, we broke below and then we had this big drop after retesting it, and currently we have bounced and we are testing this triangle again. We are trying to get above it. Just looking on the futures chart here, I did also find this interesting trend line connecting the top here, the bottom there, and this acted as support here. This same trend line doesn't work on the spot price, but it is working on the futures price. And just looking at the weekly chart, we were expecting that pullback to this 21 exponential moving average on the weekly, and this is currently at 45,200 approximately. And we were waiting for this pullback to come back to this trend line for the bounce, but we didn't quite get there. We're also expecting to pull back to this yellow line, which acted as support during the 2017 bull market also. But when everyone's watching the same thing, sometimes it can get front run. So I'm not ruling out that we won't come back to this 21 EMA, but there are a lot of signs that the pullback is over and that was the bottom. And currently we can see on this overall retracement, we are testing this 0.5 level at 53,900. Another interesting thing I noted, this is the pi cycle top indicator with the modifications I made so that it triggers exactly on the day of the previous peaks. And you can see we came down here into the top of these moving averages here, and we did get a bounce. And why is that interesting? Well, if we look back at the 2017 bull run here, once we did go above this ribbon, what we notice is when we did have these big pullbacks, we came back exactly to the top of these moving averages and then we carried on higher. And we can see we did that twice. So it's just interesting that we did a very similar thing in this current pullback, as after we went above the moving averages, we had this big pullback and we have bounced off the top of these moving averages. So I do think we will go higher eventually, and then we might have a similar pullback to this again at higher levels, perhaps when we get to 100k, and we'll be watching these moving averages as a level when we do pull back, as a possible bounce point and a good place to go long. And so just to summarize things and wrap this up, I do think we're going to possibly go a little bit higher here up to this 0.5 level at 56,000 approximately, and then have a bit of a correction and be looking to get in at this 0.5 to the golden pocket area here between 50,150 and 51.5. And then I'd be expecting a bounce would form this W pattern, very similar to actually what we did here after this big drop. So I think a similar thing will happen where we had this pullback. This time we did come up to the golden pocket area, not the 0.5 level. So we will draw the fib retracement to whatever level we get to, and as we start coming down, we'll look to go long in this golden pocket area. And we can see that would have worked out quite well here on this previous drop. But again, you can see that confluence here with the VPVR acting as resistance at the 0.5 level. So I do think this is what's going to play out, and I will be going long in these areas. So that's what I'm doing. This is not financial advice, and please make your own trades. So thanks for watching. I hope that was useful. I'm Bitcoin Mamo. See you next time. Bye.